You two are the speakers for Biomed, just you two?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, so just a reminder, actually, welcome. Welcome to Science Orientation. First off, we'd like to apologize for the WebEx debacle that we know that online technology isn't always the most friendly, and sometimes you have to work with it. So welcome to Science Orientation. My name is Julian. I'm one of the logistic coordinators for the virtual O Week for Science 2020. And I will let Shrey introduce himself.
Hey guys, my name is Shrey, and I'm one of the leader coordinators for Virtual Orientation 2020. And since all the advisors are here, I'm going to get started with the presentation.
So just a quick reminder, because we will be on Teams and it's a little bit different than WebEx, we're asking that all the students keep their mics and their videos off so that the academic advisors can talk about our lovely biomedical sciences program. And if you have any questions in the that you would like to ask either the advisors or the panelists, just toss them in the chat and we will get to those Q&A portions a little bit later in the event. Awesome. So I'll pass it off to Dr. Day and Dr. Pinero.
Thanks very much, Julian. Well, welcome everyone. And again, thanks for that very quick transition. We all managed to get over here. So Dr. Pinero and I will be presenting a little bit about the biomedical sciences program. But from what I can see, we do have some of the other advisors as well who can help answer questions. And again, I encourage you, please populate that chat with questions. And so that we can have our organizers help out. So we've got a few slides to go through, but again, if I can get the slide advanced, fantastic. Just a little bit of an overview of today's session. I'm going to get a chance to at least give you that warm welcome to the program, again, in this online environment. We'll have an opportunity to spend some time looking at the different types of academic advisors we have within the Faculty of Science. And then once we've done that, we're actually going to transition to talk a little bit about, what's your program like, the different courses that you will be taking, not just in first year, but all the way through your 4 years. But then keeping in mind, though, that there are other things to do other than just be in the classroom, so life outside the classroom as well. Dr. Pinero is going to transition and talk a little bit about university learning, and then again, aspects of important dates, because those are really key as we go through a semester, and then next steps. And again, we're going to have a panel at the end and a chance for hopefully some questions and answers. So if I can get to the next slide, that would be great. Thanks very much. So the key thing is that the biomedical sciences program that you are a part of is to provide you a training for future goals within often the medical field. So many of you perhaps are interested in medicine, whereas you perhaps are interested in dentistry. Some of you are interested in optometry. Again, UW has its School of Optometry as well as a School of Pharmacy. So these may be some of your aspirations after you've done your 4 years of the Biomed program. Again, the other aspect, though, is that there are other parts of the health discipline, like nursing, occupational therapy. But also the one thing that I do want to highlight and sort of keep in the back of your mind is as you're going through your first year, second year, all the way through 4 years, you might find yourself really interested in research and the potential to actually do graduate studies within the biomedical field, perhaps doing your master's or your PhD within the biomed field, and help out in that area of discovery. So again, this program does provide you with that opportunity to get experiences that can help lend you to that path in the future. And perhaps go to the next slide, please. So UW has quite a vast community, and the one thing that I do want to highlight is that we do have groups of individuals that are here to help guide you through your 4 years. And you've had hopefully a chance to, again, meet with some of your orientation leaders. And again, the part that I'm going to spend a little bit of time on is on academic advisors, because we are here to answer your questions, providing academic support. So you may have questions on course selection, what classes should I take, when should I take those courses, but also as you perhaps go through your first set of classes, you might realize, hey, you know what, there's an area a discipline outside of biomed that I might be really interested in taking more courses, like a minor, right? Or perhaps you want to take a medical physiology minor, or perhaps a biochemistry minor, again there, or an economics minor. The thing is that we are here as academic advisors to answer those questions. Some of you may be interested in doing an international exchange when that time may come, and again, advisors can help you with that. The other aspect that advisors can help you with is if you are interested in other aspects of campus life, but you're not quite too sure how to navigate there, we can help you find those services. We have a fantastic resource on campus that's known as the Center for Career Action. And so they can help you with career planning, and advisors within the Biomed program can also help refer you to that group. The key thing, again, from the take-home message on this slide, and that's always between Dr. Pinheiro and I, is like, what's the big picture here? If you don't know who to ask, start with an academic advisor, because again, our goal is to be able to help get you to that, the answer to the question that you're really interested in. So if I can get to the next slide, please. So academic advisors within the Faculty of Science are actually in two separate clusters. You may be familiar with the Science Undergraduate Office, and there are a network of advisors that are, you can see their images on this slide. Their offices are located in the Science Teaching Complex on campus. But again, everyone is working from home in our current environment. So the best way to get a hold of any of the advisors within the Science Undergrad Office is through MS Teams. So this platform is actually the same platform that we had to transition to. So it's a perfect opportunity to get a little bit more familiar with MS Teams. And you can see their accessibility or availability page for those advisors in the Science Undergrad Office. The big picture for the Science Undergrad Office advisors, if you happen to have a general first year question about UW, this is the place where you should be going. So seek advisors in the Science Undergrad Office if you have those general, UW type questions, not too sure about navigating through various portals, learn. Hopefully you've had a chance to get certification, women's certification, all of those different aspects of UW life. This is a great place to have those questions answered. If we can flip to the next slide, please. Thanks. And then there are a group of Biomed Sci advisors. And so again, you can see our photographs here. And as far as I know, we've got everyone on the panel here as well. So again, there's myself, Dr. Duxbury, Dr. Pinheiro, Dr. Miskovich, and then we have two academic advisors that are part of the biology department. And they oversee a number of different programs, but again, Ms. Jeannie White and Ms. Sue White are also available to answer your questions. Again, all of us are working from home during this time. So what we encourage you to do is if you happen to have questions that are specific about the Biomed program, that's really the key, is if you've got those program requirement questions, future term planning type questions, even within first year, you're more than welcome to email one of us at our, if you look on the Biomed Advisors website, you'll see our contact information. And so please use your UWaterloo email to connect with one of us. So please don't send a widespread email to individual advisors or the same email to multiple advisors. And again, because each and every one of us are going to be able to answer your questions. And we do encourage you to connect with us if you've got those course questions, program questions. If you're interested in adding a minor to your program, perhaps you've gone through your first year, now in second year, you'd like to, say, have a minor in psychology added to your program, we're the ones that you would want to connect with. If you're interested in getting a little bit more information about future studies, post-grad type studies, you're more than welcome to come and ask questions. And again, any other non-academic support. So these are your Biomed Sci advisors, and we're all here for you. And get to the next slide, please. Thank you. Now, advisors make up one piece of the community within the University of Waterloo. Our community is quite vast, as I mentioned. You will interact with professors. Now, these are the individuals that will be running your courses, but it's not only professors that will help run your courses. We do have lab instructors that do help run the lab portion of those courses. But in order to, again, deliver our courses, we have a large number of excellent teaching assistants. So you, again, will get an opportunity to interact with your TAs. And their TAs, again, they are a part of our community to be able to deliver the quality of education that we have at University of Waterloo. Not only that, we have upper year students. We've got some fantastic students that are leading this orientation session. Hopefully you'll get a chance to connect with them. So again, you can ask them questions as well as you navigate through your first year. There's a lot of experience that they can share. So it's great to connect with them as well. We can get to the next slide, please. So we have a Biomed Sci website. So for those of you that haven't had a chance to go to that Biomed website, I encourage you to do so. It does have a lot of information about the degree, things you can do with the degree, course planning aspects. There's some frequently asked questions. Our information as an academic advisors is listed there as well. But one of the things that I do want to highlight is a course checklist. That is available on that Biomed website. So it's an excellent way to help you not only look at the courses that you've completed as you go through your 4 years, but also helps you plan those 4 years as well. So highly encourage you to check that out and download that latest version of the course checklist. You can get to the next slide, please. So in the end of your 4 years, you will have a set of courses that you would have taken. And so you might be asking yourself a question, you know, what courses should I take? We've helped guide you through this process as you've come towards first year. But the one thing that I'd like to spend some time on is dividing your courses based on what sort of area of expertise that course is designed in. So we've divided these courses into required courses. So these are your code BIOL, so biology, chem, phys, English, and speech comm. So these are courses. When you look at the undergrad calendar for the Biomed website, or the Biomed program, excuse me, you will see this list of required courses. So these are courses that you do have to complete in order to graduate with the Biomed program. We also have a set of what are known as program elective courses. Sorry about that. That's my fault. So these program elective courses, there are a minimum of 4 courses that are within a set of disciplines. So we've identified courses that would be considered complementary to the Biomed program. So for those of you that are really interested in perhaps taking some psychology courses, perhaps a philosophy or sociology course, a health course, these are courses that you can take, but at least a minimum of 4 in order to complete the program. We also have what are known as required science elective courses. So these courses are of your choice, but they must be within the Faculty of Science course offerings. So those are with codes BIOL, so biology, chem, physics, and earth, so phys and earth. So those course codes, you need to take 6 of those courses at any, the first course you can take at any level, so that can be 100, 200, all the way up to 400, but you do need to have 3 of those 6 courses at the 300 or 400 level, and 2 of those have to be at the 400 level. So again, it's nice to be able to plan, look at some of those upper level courses that may be of interest to you and see the prereq progression that you might need to go through so that you can plan 2nd and 3rd year nicely so that you can get to those 4th year courses. Now, what makes up the rest of the program are free electives. So these 12 courses, the choice is completely yours. So these can be in any discipline and at any year level. Can I get the next slide, please? Thank you very much. So here we've got the fall 2020 Biomed Sci checklist. As I mentioned, this can be downloaded from the Biomed website. So the one thing that I mentioned is downloading this. You can see blocks of text, and if the text is a little bit on the small side, when you expand this out, you'll see that there's a cluster of required biology courses, required chemistry courses, required physics courses, and your communications English or speech comm course, the required science electives, and then the program electives, and then your free electives. So being able to check off each of those boxes, whether it's filled with an actual course code or is it an elective, is going to be key by the time you reach the end of your 4 years. But there are some additional parts to the program that I haven't mentioned yet, because there are marks to be able to maintain in the program, and you need to have a cumulative overall average of 60% and a cumulative science average of 65%. So the question always is, well, what happens if I don't make the 60% overall or the 65% science average? Again, there's often what we do see is because there's a change in learning going from high school learning to university learning. Sometimes we call this the 15 factor. What happens if you don't mate the minimum averages? And again, Dr. Pinheiro is going to talk a little bit more about how to avoid that process. But again, we do have conditional standings as well as other honors programs that if you're not able to meet that minimum average, you may be able to progress through your undergrad. So with that, I'd like to thank you for spending a little bit of time with me. I'm still going to hang around in the background and be able to answer questions if later on after Dr. Pinheiro's had a chance to give his part of the presentation. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Day. Okay, so hi, I'm Dr. Marcel Pinheiro. So let's keep in mind that number of 60 and 65 for just a minute. And I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit about, what are some of the skills that you might want to use as we go into first year. And we'll come back to that 15 factor in just a minute. I know, you're sitting here, you're wonderful students. We're all, you're all some of the best out there. So you're thinking 60, 65, oh, no worry. Just keep that number in the back of your mind. Let's go ahead one more slide here, and we'll look at some of the differences that you can expect when you're moving into university from high school. So what we like to say is that in high school, most of your learning happened in class, and then you had some independent learning going on at home, homework and things like that. Not a tremendous amount of independent work. And again, most of it's happening in your classroom. In university, that changes quite a bit. So you're going to be going to a lecture, or of course, listening to a remote lecture, because that's where we are right now. But in general, it's really helpful and integral as you move through to do some of your preparations before watching that video, reading any recommended readings, reviewing your notes, and then coming into lecture and listening, thinking of questions, asking questions, because most of your learning is happening outside of that lecture. When you finish that lecture, you'll be going over your notes, doing assignments, preparing and studying in probably new ways compared to what you're used to. And especially moving into our remote learning, you're going to see, by and large, many instructors are going to be using low-stake assignments. And that means that they're generally going to be worth not a lot of percentage, but they're going to be happening usually every week or every 2 weeks. And that's to help you keep on track with things, test your understanding, make sure that you are comfortable with what's going on, so that if you are starting to have issues or questions, that they are popping up well before any midterm or term test. So we go from that majority of learning happening in class in the university setting, in the high school setting, into university, where you're doing a lot more independently. So getting into that habit of changing that mindset, that you should always be thinking about what you're seeing, and also doing a little bit to prepare and keep up with things, because there's going to be a lot to keep up with as you move into university. That's really going to be key. So next slide, please. When you're moving into a lecture or a lab or a tutorial, that environment will look very different as well. So, traditionally, when we're on campus, the lecture is the big room and you're listening to a professor who is going through material, and you'll be thinking of questions, raising your hand, etc. We're going to be using a lot more video lessons, and you may have Q&A sessions where you can call in, perhaps on Teams, and you can be asking those questions, or you can be posting questions onto discussion boards or things like that. So that's a little bit different from what may happen in a lab. And in a traditional lab, you would really have to come prepared, read material beforehand, and be ready to work in that limited amount of time. And in the virtual labs, you'll have lots of information on how you can prepare and what you should be expecting. But it's a very different setting to a lecture. And then we have a tutorial. These are usually in smaller groups opposed to lectures, which are usually in big groups. And in the tutorial, you're generally working alone or with a partner or in a group to complete assignments or complete tasks. So, what you're going to be doing in tutorials and labs are going to be different from the lecture, from the lesson, but it can include things like case studies, hands-on lab work, or doing activities at home for now or in the lab, and even starting to do some research, asking research questions, etc. But again, the key is engagement, trying to, read the expectations, chew on it a little bit, think about it, and have questions prepared when you can ask them when you're able. And it's that shift to being more independent in your learning that I think is very important as you move through your university career. Next slide, please. There's many expectations that instructors and professors have on students as well that make it very different. So we have deadlines for assignments. The expectation is that you submit them on time and that you are keeping track of when those deadlines are as well. Some professors will place deadlines into the calendar in Learn. Others will just list it in a syllabus or on weekly notes or areas of Learn separate from the actual calendar. It's your responsibility to keep track of your deadlines, and that's an important skill. There's late penalties, so if you don't submit things on time, you'll typically have a percentage that's removed every day up to a certain percentage. And some folks are going to be more stringent and some less. But again, that's usually communicated in the syllabus, and it's your responsibility to make sure that you know. And of course, if you can't find it, you can ask your prof or ask your classmates as well, because that's very important. That's going to be a lot of work. A lot of these weekly assignments are designed to keep you on track. So it really is important that you try to keep up with things and not let things slip through the cracks, because a heavy course load is not an acceptable reason for things to be deferred, especially midterms, term tests, or exams. Okay, it's fairly universal that you're going to have a heavy workload, especially once we get to about the midterm period, when we start to have more assignments due, looking towards midterms, term tests, etc. So organization, time management are integral skills for you to think about. You can reach out to the SUO academic advisors, biology academic advisors, TAs, or your professors to get some help with that. But keeping on track is really key to your success. You will get sick, but potentially from sniffles or coughs, colds, whatever. And if you're not feeling like you're able to complete an assessment or an assignment, then we have a VIF system in place. So here you would have to go to a doctor and get checked out, have a verification of illness form filled in, scan that, and email it to that science advisor at uwaterloo.ca. You can find all of the rules around missing assessments in your syllabus, likely for each class, and online. And this applies if you don't have COVID. So COVID is sort of a different system. There is no VIF that you need to get. You would self-declare on a web page through the University of Waterloo. But the important thing is that once we're on campus, you're not coming to campus when you're sick, so you're not making other people sick. When you're at home, you're not doing assignments and tests if you're really ill and not able to perform to your standard, because it's important that you get better. So there are these mechanisms to allow you to get an extension on some things, but they have to be verified, and you have to go through the proper procedures. And again, that's in your syllabus. Travel plans, okay? We have a certain exam period. Don't make travel plans before those, assuming we can travel again in December, but hoping we can. Wait to see when exams are planned, because you can't say, well, I have these tickets to go somewhere. Can I move my exam? That doesn't happen. So usually those dates will come out early-ish in the term, and you'll have an idea. But please hold off on making any travel plans, because we instructors cannot grant alternative deferrals. And lastly, you know, we hear always as instructors that commonly high school classes have extra credit assignments at the end of term to help you boost your mark. That's something that's incredibly rare in university. We don't normally have extra credit assignments. Quite frankly, it's generally unfair to the rest of the class if you ask your professor for an extra credit assignment at the end of the term. And again, this is just, it's not personal, it's just the way that it is. So look at the assessments that are outlined in the syllabi and on Learn, and plan your time to completing them best you can. Okay, next slide, please. So remember that magic number, that 60-65. So that 15 factor usually deals with that transition into university. This is a very different setting, but even if you were on campus, it would be a very different culture compared to what you may have been used to, especially if you're living on your own for the first time. So here are some marks from the first lab report in Bio 130L, the cell biology lab. And you can see here the distribution from, on the right-hand column, the mark out of 100 in grade distributions, and the number of students scoring in that category. So if we can move ahead to the next little animation on this slide, you'll see that quite a sizable proportion of students actually failed their first lab report. Now, these are the same types of students that are sitting here watching this video, right? Did exceedingly well in high school, super prepared, and thought they were really, really ready. And it just happened that students just don't transition to the expectations and that change in expectations that happens in university. So everything we've talked about time management, about making sure you're getting things done on time, asking questions, thinking about the material as you're learning it, that's something new. And you will likely see a bit of a drop in your average as you go through. So again, keep up with your studies, keep up with the assignments, reach out for help from TAs, from instructors, and from SUO advisors and biology advisors, so you don't fall into this big drop, the 15 factor today. And if that is you, that's okay. There are ways to come back. You have to change the way that you study and the way that you organize your time, and there are people to help you do that, but it is possible, okay? So just keep in mind that, this happens every year. It's okay if you find yourself in this position. You can do it because you've gotten this far already. You can do it. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I'm having a delay here, so I'm hoping that you see the next slide, which is program hints. So I've sort of said this many, many times already, but, look at your schedule, look at your syllabus for each of your courses, and plan. Get a journal to help you plan. Use your phone to plan when deadlines are happening. It's your responsibility to make sure that you're meeting all of the requirements for your degree, and that includes keeping up with assessments, keeping up with your material, and doing the best that you can. Pay attention. There will sometimes be changes in between years, courses being offered at different times, new prerequisites that come out. So make sure you watch that Biomed, biomedical science page and the U of W biology page to see these changes that are happening. And you can always occasionally contact your biology advisor if you've planned your degree to see if it looks good, if there's anything that you may want to change when you're planning to take certain courses. Keep organized. That's the number one thing. It really does help to keep track with everything that's coming up, in your courses now, which courses you'll be taking in the future, etc. That's a real integral piece of advice that I think we all would agree would help you succeed. Next slide, please. So here's a bit of a picture of what you'll have going on this term. So you'll have a full course load, that's 5 lecture courses, plus any additional labs that you might be seeing. You could have tutorials, a part of that as well. In a lecture, that's typically 3 hours a week. Now, because we're remote, that may be slightly different. That may not mean that you're watching 3 hours of lecture videos each week. It could mean that you're watching less amount of time videos, but then spending extra time reading or doing assignments. And in the syllabus for each class, your professors may lay out how much time they're expecting you to spend. But that's just this contact time. There's going to be extra time that you'll be putting into reading and preparing. Okay, so the bare minimum is this 3 hours per week. You'll have midterms and finals that come along. In first year, they're mainly multiple choice. You'll have lots of practice doing that. But once you move into third, fourth year, you're going to be doing a lot of writing and problem solving aside from these multiple choice tests. Lab courses are typically 3 hours a week or every other week, but some courses are different. So particularly when you get to some of the in-person labs, you really want to make sure you check your lab schedule to find out which week you're actually going to the lab or watching a remote lab. Lab reports, quizzes, often even a lab exam can be part of this too. So you can see that this is all on top of the lecture component. So you will have a lot going on. You'll have a lot on your plate. So again, time management, organization, absolutely critical to stay on top of all of this. Next slide, please. In first year, these are some of the core required courses that you've been block enrolled for. So cell biology, Bio 130, Bio 130L, also Chem 120, which is chemistry, and then the physics as well, depending on which you've chosen, and then 2 electives. So in second year, once you move into second year, you're no longer block enrolled, so it's no longer created for you. You will be enrolling on your own. So watch for your enrollment appointments. Check your email regularly because you will get a note when you will be able to sign up for those courses. Okay, it's really critical that you're paying attention to that UWaterloo email so you don't miss them. Some other things you might think about is potentially taking math. If math is your strong suit, you may decide to take math early to get that out of the way. But if you do struggle, it's certainly common to take it a little bit later. So consider that as you're going forward. Reach out to an academic advisor, or you can ask about it later on in our open session, and we can offer our advice as far as math is concerned. Next course, please. Next slide, please. Looking ahead to winter 20, your required courses have been, I guess, winter 21. Your required courses have been block enrolled, but again, this is not going to happen in second year. And some of the things you'll be taking are Bio 239, Chem, and a physics, and then your English or speech comm course. So along with that, you'll be picking an elective, and the time frame will be later on in September, as it's noted there. And you'll be able to adjust your schedule starting in early November, okay? And that will be through Quest in the add drop period. So again, watch your email and you should see that as you go. We mentioned the course checklist early on. That's a really great resource on the biomedical sciences page. So go take a look to see what you're going to have to take eventually. You can be able to plan when you may be might have to take certain of those electives and when you may have to take some of the required courses. And of course, feel free to reach out to your advisors for any advice on when to take certain courses. Next slide, please. We do have an academic calendar. This is online, and it lists all of the courses, all of our programs. You can have you can get a little of a description of each of the courses, and particularly if you're really excited about a fourth year course, because some of the third and fourth year courses are really exciting, not to say the early ones are not, but you might be looking at that fourth year course and saying, oh, I just can't wait to take it. It's really important to look at the prereqs on those courses and work backwards to make sure that you get all of the courses as you go so that you're not getting to the position where the course is running next term and you're missing prereqs. So you can get that course checklist at any time and fill out what you might think you would take to make sure that you're able to take those courses when they're offered and when you're able to take them. So planning, really important. Other things in the calendar, you can see the degree requirements, minors, general academic regulations, and how grading works, etc. All of the information, all of the rules that all of the courses follow are going to be found in that academic calendar. So you can find that on the link that's provided there. Next slide, please. That's sort of the one general academic resource, but of course there are many other ones. You have Learn, which is where you'll find all of your lessons, all of your deadlines, syllabi, probably doing assignments and submitting assignments through Learn. You may have had a chance to log into those already. You'll only start to see material once courses begin, so it may be empty right now, but it'll fill up soon enough. And then you have Quest. This is where you'll find your course schedule, and when you're able to add courses and select courses, you'll do that through Quest. So take note of that. If you find yourself maybe not feeling as comfortable with your writing as you would like to be, we have writing resources. The Writing Center is very, very good at helping you to boost your skills. That will help on things like that Bio 130 lab report. So consider that. We also have the Student Success Office that can help you find other resources that are not listed here. A lot of the communications that are coming from administration or from the faculty will come through the student portal, so you may be using that quite regularly. And then if you're thinking about how to volunteer or places to volunteer, places to look for work in the summer or when you're done your degree, you may wish to go look at the Center for Career Action. There's good workshops out of there. They help you to build a resume, interview skills, lots of great job-related skills that are going to be useful, and you can develop those as you go. Lastly, it's really important to point out that you're just getting this at UWaterloo email, but it is integral that when you contact anyone on campus that you're using that email. Instructors and professors really have to communicate using that email. That's what we're supposed to communicate. So if you're using a Gmail account or what have you, we're really not supposed to be answering those. So make sure you use the at UWaterloo email, you check it regularly because you will have things come through specifically to that email. Next slide, please. Here are a number of important dates that are going to be coming up fairly quickly. These are listed on the registrar's website. So the last day to add courses is September 21st. And if you're looking to drop courses, so maybe things are not going as well as you had hoped, or you're not particularly looking to continue in a course, we have a number of different deadlines here to do different things. So if you drop a course by September 28th, you'll get a full refund on that tuition for that course. And then we go into two other periods. So we have a WD period that goes all the way up to November. Now, if you're struggling and you think you may need to take a break from studies or take a break from a course and do it at a different point, things haven't been going well, this is a good period where you can withdraw before it would show up on your transcript. So if you were to drop a course after that November 23rd deadline, your transcript would show a grade value, which would impact your average. If you do it before that deadline in the WD period, then you would have a withdrawal, which wouldn't affect your average on the transcript. So a lot of this is thinking about how you're going as you go through the term, as you're completing assignments, as you're looking at your grades, reaching out to the SUO or your advisors if you're struggling and you're really thinking, maybe I need to take a break. And that is, it's done by many students, and they're able to get things back on track, come back and finish. So keep note of those dates as you go forward. We have a fall reading week, October 12th to 16th, so some time to catch up on things, to prepare for what's coming forward, to get your your daily planners back in order, and you'll have a break from courses then. And then you'll be looking for enrollment appointments for the winter to add in those electives and going forward. So make sure you keep track of that UWaterloo email. The fall exam schedule is listed here too. So remember, don't make travel plans during that time. We should have schedules coming out soon, and it'll be posted as soon as they're available. And don't buy any tickets should we be able to travel again anytime soon in that time. Okay, next slide, please. Just to go over a few more additional things. I know there's a lot to consider, but you'll have access to this later, so you can always look back if you need a refresher. So we have our biology department website. Changes to course scheduling or course descriptions can be found there. You can see when there's opportunities to help with research as well. There's an NSERC Summer Scholarship in the awards link. This is based on grades, and you can apply for a scholarship that allows you to get into an investigator's lab to help out in the summer. And this may be a really useful thing for you if you find that you sort of like the idea of research and maybe want to go into grad school. This could be something to look into. But you can also look into TA applications going forward. So starting probably next year, if you'd like to TA that wonderful 130 lab, you can apply there and you'll be able to do something additional that will help you to fill out your resume and be a part of our community. And then we have a Twitter page for the biology department, and you can see when we are, highlighting some of our wonderful people in biology, talking about events that are coming up, etc. So you may want to follow along and see what's going on. Next slide, please. Aside from that, you'll be looking through Portal and Quest to see your courses. You'll probably be thinking about buying textbooks and those sorts of things. So on campus, there's a bookstore. Now you're probably looking at a virtual bookstore to buy that. There's also a used bookstore that's available to be found through Amazon, actually. So if you're looking at maybe buying some used books to save some money, that's something that's available too. And we also have a store on campus for lab materials, so lab coats, goggles, those sorts of things when we're back on campus. So be aware that those are available too. WHMIS is really integral to do before you get into a lab. So you'll find this in Learn. You'll be able to self-enroll into a WHMIS course, and you'll want to have that done really as soon as possible. It's not so integral for remote labs, but really don't waste time, get it done out of the way so that when we do get back on campus, there's nothing standing between you and getting into a lab. It will be mandatory before you're able to actually do any of the in-person labs, the WHMIS. I still don't see this slide, the other important information slide, so I hope everyone else does, but maybe I have some lag on my system. Can we move to the next slide, slide 25, please? And I'm going to imagine that it's there. So other things, we've talked a lot about academic skills, right? And we've mentioned a number of the resources that are there. We've got the Student Success Office, we've got your advisors, both in the SUO and your biology advisors, and some other examples there. But of course, there's other things going on. Wellness is a big concern for us here at Waterloo. So we have a number of services, counseling services, health services, etc., that are working remotely, that are online. So you can find that on the UWaterloo website, and you can make sure that you're able to get help if you need it. But don't hesitate to reach out to advisors and to your friends in class, to TAs and profs as well if you're going through challenges. We really are here to help you, and it's really important that you know that. We know it's difficult, we know it's a struggle, we know that this remote setting is very challenging and stressful. So reach out, we're here to help you, and we're here to offer advice. Lots of social clubs as well on the right hand of that slide. So the BMSAs, the Biomedical Student Association, if we can jump to the next slide, please, you'll see some information there. They have an online presence, so you may want to get involved there because they're a really great group of people. They'll get you that you need, information that you need as far as how to get integrated and learn about what's coming as far as professional schools and requirements and those sorts of things, and ideas on what people think about different courses. You can get our opinion as advisors and professors, but it's sometimes nice to have the student perspective too. So feel free to reach out to them. Okay, we can jump ahead to the next slide. This goes through some of the BMSA's various events. I hope you all can see the slides, but we'll see what's going on here. They'll be having exec nominations soon, so you can actually get very involved with this group if you would so desire. Okay, let's move on to slide 28. I've gone through this a number of times already. I know this seems like a lot. However, we are here to help you. We want you to succeed. We know you can succeed. It's going to take hard work, but there's people to help you get through it. Your classmates are going to be incredible. Your lectures will sometimes be exciting and engaging and stimulating, and sometimes be incredibly boring. And that's just the way it is. Some things you'll love about your program, some things you'll not love, and that's okay. But I hope that you get through and you really fall in love with the program and you go on to either continue in it or maybe find that you love something else and you decide to move in a different direction. And that's totally okay. The key is to talk to your professors, talk to your classmates, go to class. Don't wait until October to start working. You know, we're going to have weekly assignments really regularly in our remote setting. Keep up with them. Keep track of when those deadlines are, because it's really will help in the long run if you're chugging along and not just doing things right at the end. So it says there, go to class, really watch those lecture videos, really, and have fun, because that's really a big part of university. So next slide. These slides should be available on SciSpace, but maybe the organizers can speak to that once we're done. And we can go to slide 30, which is our wonderful biomedical sciences advisors again. And remember that we're here to help you. It is your responsibility to stay up on things and keep track, but otherwise, we're excited to have you with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Day and Dr. Pinero, for the loads of information, because I know it's really, really great to hear from the advisors, especially for the first years coming in, because it's great to see all of what science has to offer, specifically in the Biomed program. So now we will go on to a couple of questions specifically for the academic advisors. And so from our understanding, there has been some issue with the chat feature due to different teams and stuff like that. So we will be doing a system on the taskbar on Teams. There is a little icon that says raise your hand. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand, and I'll just moderate the question and answer period, and Dr. Day and Dr. Pinero can answer your questions regarding the Biomed program. I will start, however, with some of the questions in the chat, because we do have two questions. They're fairly similar, one from Stephen and one from Lauren. So Stephen asks, are lectures going to be live or scheduled? And then Lauren asks, if lectures aren't live, do professors post one lecture a day, or they have multiple lectures posted at one time in advance? So Dr. Day or Pinero, if you don't mind just speaking to how those will be formatted for the fall term.
I don't mind answering, Dr. Day, if you don't mind. I will say that you will have variability amongst different professors, but they will always say in the first week or in the syllabus what's going on. I would say by and large, it's going to be what we call asynchronous or recorded lectures that will be posted. Not every day, probably on a weekly basis, but again, that's going to be specific to each instructor and it will be communicated clearly. What we know is that you'll likely see videos that are in smaller chunks, so not big 50-minute videos, but probably smaller chunk videos to help you get through them. What else is the question? And if anything is ever live or what we call synchronous, usually we have maybe a Q&A session or something like that. We would in general have that recorded and then posted at a later date for anyone that can't view it at a certain time. So the university is really thinking about this and trying to make things available to everyone. So you're going to hear the words synchronous and asynchronous a lot. And for the most part, especially in first year, you'll see all of your lessons being asynchronous videos, videos that are just recorded and put online for you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So I believe, no, I raised my own hand. My apologies. I believe we did have someone, but they had put their hand down. Do we have any more questions for the advisors? I would also, in the call, we also have on top of Dr. Pinero and Dr. Day, we also have Dr. Cheryl Duxbury and Dr. Dragana Miskovic. They are lab instructors in the Department of Biology. Dr. Duxbury and Dr. Miskovic, if you would like to turn on your camera and say hello, you're more than welcome to. And if there are any other questions, just raise your hand. We'll give it about a minute or so, and then we can move on. Hi, Dr. Miskovic. Mhm. Cool. I believe we have a question from Emily. So if Emily, if you don't mind unmuting your mic and just asking the question.
I was wondering what the Biology 130 labs might be like. Thank you.
Cool. So I can direct that to Dr. Miskovich as she is the lab
Well, they
instructor.
will be remote, right? So what we did is we made this lab manual where you will be exposed to the experiments. Experiments were done by our technicians, so we are having photographs and we are having little videos that you guys will have to go through. And what we will be insisting on this term is analyzing the results. So what I can tell you is that everything will be online, everything will be on Learn. And before you send an email to me and ask me a question, I suggest that you look at Learn carefully, because you have to keep in mind there are 915 students, I believe, enrolled in a course. And if everyone sends me an email with a question that can be answered just by reading the information online, that will be a disaster. Similar to what could have happened at the beginning of this meeting, right? The system can be overloaded. So read the information posted on Learn, contact your TAs. TAs will divide you guys into smaller groups. They will interact with you directly. And then if TAs are having any issues, they will be contacting me. But everything is in place, so don't worry about it. You will be learning some stuff important for the lab work.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So if there are any last questions, last call for questions before we move on to the student panelists. No. No worries. And if you ever have any questions for the academic advisors, like Dr. Pinero and Dr. Day mentioned, feel free to email them, because they're always welcoming and very responsive, especially now with everything being online. Everyone's checking their emails quite often. So if you have any questions regarding the program or stuff like that, definitely direct it towards the biomedical sciences advisors. Oh, Dr. Miskovich, you have anything to add?
Yeah. As you said, we are checking our emails. I strongly suggest that you check your emails as well on regular basis.
For sure, especially with because being learn and emails being the main source of information, because we won't always have that face to face because we won't be on campus. But that's a very good point as well. Cool. So we will move on to the panelists. So if you don't mind changing the slide. And we have some upper year students in the biomedical sciences program, who will be giving a quick intro, and then they will be answering some of your questions regarding not only the program, but the student life in the Faculty of Science. It might be a lag for me, but we can get started anyways. I would like to first introduce Jenny. She's in her 4th year of Biomed, and she can, if you don't mind, turn on your mic and camera, and you can start the introductions.
Hey everyone, my name is Jenny, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm going into my last year of biomedical sciences, and I actually took an extra year just to dabble in a little bit of research. So my favorite part of first year was meeting new people and finding people who had common interests as me. And I know a bunch of you probably aren't going to be on campus, but there's definitely opportunities for you to get to know people virtually as well. In terms of my experiences at UW, a few things I've done are complete the EDGE certificate program, volunteered at a lab, I completed an NSERC research grant just this past summer, got involved in science ambassadors and worked at various part-time jobs around campus. But for this fall, right now I'm working for the Student Success Office and as a teaching assistant for Bio 130L.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenny. So we'll move on to Ladiz. So Ladiz is entering her 3A of Biomed. So Ladiz, if you don't mind doing a little intro, that'd be great.
Yep. Hi, everybody. My name is Ladiz. I'm in my 3rd year of biomedical science. In terms of my favorite part of first year, it's probably just the ability to be able to do some different courses. There's so much diversity in the content that I could choose. So it was nice to choose cool electives. I chose economics and psychology, and I actually really liked psychology. And now I'm doing a minor in psychology. One thing that I wish I knew before going to first year is that your study habits from high school might have to change. You should keep an open mind, just knowing that you should be able to change your study habits, because particularly like mine didn't really work from high school to university. So I just had to like keep an open mind that I have to change my study habits. In terms of my experience at Waterloo, I've been a research assistant in psychology labs. I've also been part of HOSA, which is a nice health science competition. And I've also done volunteering at a hospital in Waterloo. So obviously, if you have any questions about that, please let me know.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to Yashar. So Yashar is entering his 4A of biomedical sciences.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ishar, and as Julie mentioned, I'm entering my 4A term of Biomed. My favorite part of first year was probably getting to meet other science students who shared a similarly strong passion for the sciences, because you get to really focus on courses that you like versus high school where you're more so generalizing in courses. And so I think that at Waterloo, you have a very vast majority of courses to select from, which includes electives. And as such, I've been able to, as part of Biomed, be able to take 2 minors so far. In terms of my experiences at Waterloo, encompassing extracurriculars, I've been as part of orientation as a leader and coordinator. I've been a part of Science Society as a coordinator and executive. I've been a part of Pre-Med Club. I've been doing research in psychology, cognitive psychology, for the past 2 years now, and I will be working as a student ambassador this term. So if you have any questions about those, please let me know.
Cool. And last but not least, we have Zara. Zara's entering her 4A as well, her 4A of biomedical sciences.
Hi. So like Julian said, my name is Zara. My pronouns are she, her. I'm going into my 4th year of biomed. One of my favorite parts of first year was learning about a bunch of different ways to get involved. A few activities that I have gotten involved in over the years have been an executive of Science Society, so through the internal, I got to get super involved in student government. Through that, I got involved in the Waterloo Undergraduate Student Association and their student council. This past spring term, I was able to do an independent research study course where I got to do studies on COVID-19. I have been able to take a good chunk of online courses as electives and to some program requirements throughout the course of my undergrad. So if you have any questions about tips on that, I'd be happy to answer them. I've also been able to work as a pharmacy assistant for about 5 years, and I've also worked in hospitals as a child life specialist assistant. So I've had some experience working in clinical settings. And for the upcoming year, I'm focusing on working as a research assistant in a health geography lab on campus. But yeah, that's pretty much me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Awesome, awesome. So as we mentioned, we have 4 great students here from the Biomedical Sciences program, the upper year students. So they're here to answer some of your questions. So if we'll start with, again, we will do, if you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand, and you can direct it to a particular panelist or just general, and you can unmute your mic and ask them directly. But we will start with some of the questions in the chat. So Jenny, if you want to start with the first one, that'd be great.
Okay, so the first question we have is, what are some good club/extracurricular activities that are related and beneficial to biomed science students? So this is kind of like a 2-part question. So the first part, like beneficial to science students or biomed science students, I think in terms of beneficial, I think any club or extracurricular is beneficial, no matter what program you're in, and no matter what you want to do, as long as you enjoy that extracurricular activity and you find value in the extracurricular activity. If you're looking to apply to professional schools, so like med schools, pharmacy, dentistry, stuff like that, they don't have a specific formula for exactly what types of extracurriculars or clubs you should do to be able to increase your chances of getting into those schools. It's more of like, do the things that you want to do, and those things will help you discover what your passions are, discover what kind of skills that you have and help you learn transferable skills as well. So in terms of beneficial, just try to do things that maybe push you out of your comfort zone a little bit, force you to learn new skills, and that you enjoy doing. In terms of the first part of that question, so extracurricular activities that are related to biomed science, for probably a lot of you, you're interested in the medical field. So I'll gear my answer towards that area. But we do have a lot of we have pre-med clubs, we have a pre-pharm club, and a pre-optometry club. And these are clubs where upper years who are looking to apply to these future programs are there to kind of support you through your journey. They bring speakers in from different schools, and they give you a bunch of information and tips on the process of applying to these schools, and things like that. Does anyone else have anything else to add to extracurricular activities that are related to biomed science students?
Yeah, I think just extending off of what Jenny was saying about the idea of having like beneficial extracurriculars and just trying to pick things that you're going to enjoy. I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the idea of picking a lot of extracurriculars so that you have a lot of things to say that you're doing, and people get caught up in the idea of like quantity and quality, but I think really just thinking about quality over quantity, and that way you have a lot more growth to show in what you're doing, and you're also going to be doing things that you enjoy a lot better. So yeah, just keeping that in mind as well when you're picking what projects you want to take on.
Awesome. So we will move on, and I believe Ada had a question in the chat about possible careers that you are planning to pursue following your undergrad degree. Maybe Ladiz or Yashar, if you guys want to speak to that, that'd be great.
I guess I'll go first. So to answer the question, I have been planning to pursue medicine throughout undergrad and even before so, and I'm still planning to pursue it. So in pursuit of this career goal, I have been taking the courses necessary, and I strongly recommend checking all professional schools' admission requirements websites because they do differ in terms of what kinds of courses they need and at what course levels. Some may require 300, 400 level courses, some may not specify. And so it's good to be checking every professional school that you wish to apply to, be it medicine, optometry, pharmacy, or dentistry, and to check their program requirements, I would say about a few times every term just to make sure you're on track and you're planning ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. To add on to that, I personally was also going to pursue medical school as an option, but I also am considering doing research later in the future. So if you're thinking about something like that, I would suggest trying to volunteer in a lot of research labs right now to find your interest and see what you kind of like, if you like the research atmosphere and setting. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. If you have any questions about that, please let me know.
Awesome, cool. We have another question asking, does Waterloo have an MCAT, a pre-MCAT club or stuff like that? So like I believe Jenny mentioned, we do have a pre-med, a pre-optom, and a pre-pharmacy club. So all of those will be, you can find them on their social medias, stuff like that. That it is, they can get all the information for their events and stuff like that online. We do have a question from Tirtha. Do you mind just unmuting your mic and asking the question? Tirtha, I believe you have your hand raised. Would you like to ask a question for the panelist? No. Okay, if there are any.
As biomedical science is a non-co-op program, so I was just wondering what are the different resources we can use in order to get involved with, like to get work or to get involved with stuff related to our program. Thank you.
if one of the panelists would like to answer, that'd be great.
I can answer that one. So there's a bunch of different ways you can get involved in extracurriculars and clubs throughout the university. And I'll just list a couple of them, but you can find them all on the website. In terms of clubs, the clubs a lot of them are found on the WUSA website. So that's the Waterloo Undergraduate Student Association website. If you just type in WUSA, their website will show up on Google, and just click on that, and they have a list of over 200 clubs that you can participate in. We also have clubs underneath Science Society, and you can go to Science Society's website to check out all these different clubs, and you can participate in any of these clubs as well. You can also participate in the Biomedical Students Association, so BMSA, that you saw earlier in the presentation. And you can check out their social media for opportunities on how to get involved and how to participate in their events. In terms of volunteering and part-time jobs, you can find those. They're often posted on this website called Leads. So it's just leads.uwaterloo.ca, and they have a bunch of volunteering and work opportunities as well. In terms of other work opportunities, we have another website called the Work Study website. So this only applies if you qualify for OSAP, but the Work Study website gives you a lot of opportunities in different areas in the on campus to have a part-time job. So you can check that website out as well for job opportunities. In terms of research, the advisors mentioned the NSERC grant. That is for us as biomed students. You can apply for that. Usually you'll apply for that at the beginning of winter semester, so in January. But you can do that by talking to profs, asking profs who are interested in the same or doing the same research that you're interested in, and asking them if they have a position for an NSERC summer student. And then you can apply through the NSERC website. But do your research before then and talk to a lot of profs and see what's available. In terms of volunteering, also, in labs, you can also email profs that you're interested in working in and see if they have positions open in their lab.
Awesome, thank you very much. So we are going to take these last two questions from Laura and Laiba. So Laura, if you don't mind unmuting your mic and asking the question, that'd be great.
So I was just wondering if any of you have any tips on how to create a good study pattern. Thanks.
Maybe Zara, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of, I think it's really different with online school, especially because I think there's less structure. You don't have time to classes all the time. Specifically, I think especially in first year, there aren't going to be as many specific time slots. There might be more just certain lectures that you're viewing at your own time, depending on the course. My biggest recommendation, especially I just did a full course load in spring term where things were online, is to still treat it like a regular school term and give your classes like class times as you would in a regular school term. So if you know this course would usually have 3 lectures per week, create 3 lecture time slots per week as best you can, and kind of just build yourself your own timetable. I think because things are online, you have more flexibility in terms of when you want those time slots to be, which is nice. But try to give yourself as much structure as possible. And my other biggest recommendation is to make friends and have people to help keep you accountable. It's definitely hard because you feel a little bit more isolated. You're not in the environment that you'd usually be in. And I think that's why Orientation Week is really great, because we want to help you build those connections and find people who are in your program and who are in your community, so that you can have people to work with your courses through and go through your program with. But in terms of building a structure, I think having actual scheduled times for your classes, even though they might not really exist. And like Dr. Pinero was saying, in terms of organization, having a planner is really, really, really important. Keeping track of your due dates. There's going to be a lot of them, a lot of smaller assignments and things like that to keep track of. So yeah, those are some of the things that I do that I think help. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So we'll move on to Laiba. If you don't mind unmuting your mic and asking the question, that'd be great.
Hi, so I just have a question on the labs actually. So I know everything is online. So how is it gonna work in terms of equipment and also in terms of the right proper like like gears and everything? Like would you still be assessing us if we don't wear the proper gear if it's all online?
Cool. So I'll actually shoot that over to Dr. Miskovich if I believe you're still on. If you don't mind answering that question regarding the labs.
So Julian, I'm just going to jump in. Dr. Miskovich had to go to another meeting. I do not believe she's here, but I can offer some perspective here. So for the large part, remote labs are going to focus on the data analysis, becoming familiar with the idea of why we do things in the lab. And you may have some labs that are sending you equipment, but that will be in the minority. For the most part, you're going to be getting data and looking at how that data was collected, thinking about how a scientist puts an experiment together, and then ultimately analyzes it. So you'll be, number crunching and producing graphs and analyzing it and writing about that data. So it's a bit of that analytical level that's really going to be focused upon in the first year labs. You might have a lab that perhaps sends you material, and that will be all communicated in the syllabus. So make sure you are, watching your learn pages to know what's going on.
Awesome, cool. And I apologize, Emily, I believe that you had a question in the chat, and I was going to get back to it just because it was more directed towards the academic advisors. So Emily, if you don't mind unmuting your mic and asking, I'm not sure if it's the same question or a different question, but you can go ahead.
This was a different question, more directed towards research. I was wondering generally what a day in a research lab would look like and whether you work alone or with other people. Yeah, thank you.
I can answer that for you. I've been in a psychology research as part of a vision lab as a research assistant. So I think from lab to lab, it differs in what you do, and based on your supervisor, they kind of give you instructions and roles to play. Personally, as with the job that I played, the research assistant part that I played, what I would do is I would bring in the participants through SONA, which is kind of like a psychology research website where you could just sign up for labs. And for certain psychology courses, you get credits for those labs. So a lot of students would sign up for those labs and they would come and participate in the lab. So my job as the research assistant, I would bring them into a lab. I would sign them into a computer or get them started on the experiment that they're doing. And then I would just leave the room until they're done, and then kind of come and then give them the instructions as they were leaving, and then give them the credit. And that was kind of it. But also depending on the research lab that you're in, certain research labs, you might actually have to be able to do more of the data and the coding with your supervisor. But again, that's based on the lab itself. Yeah, that's kind of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ladise. Cool. So we do have to wrap up, but I do see one more hand. So we're going to do Emily's question from the chat, and then Zaira has a question that she would like to ask. And then we do have to finish up because we have gone a little bit over time. So Emily's question in the chat, which I can direct to Dr. Pinero, is she's wondering about the careers that are well suited for the degree, maybe different from biomed, or sorry, different from medical school, because we are in the biomedical sciences program.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good program to allow you a lot of flexibility and to kind of explore any small aspect in medical science. I mean, that could be veterinary, that could be going to midwifery, that could be working to more of a technician type of position as well. So I think you have a lot of flexibility in this program to explore different areas of biomedical sciences. And it's certainly not just professional school or graduate school. There's the ED certificate that can really push you to look at different opportunities and try to work towards getting a job in a certain area as well. So don't go into your program thinking it's med school and that's it. I mean, that might be a goal, but be open to letting the wind carry you to where you find passion, right? So it's okay to not have the same goal on the end of fourth year as you do now. And really, it's probably really good to consider other types of careers. So what are they? So you could go into like genetic counseling, you could go into midwifery, you could go into nursing, you could go into being a lab technician, working in a diagnostic lab, those sorts of things. Vivian, if you're here, you might have some suggestions too, but we have so many opportunities in this program because it is quite flexible and it allows you to follow a bit of a passion.
I would say, Marcel, you've pretty much said it all, and I don't really have much else to add, unfortunately.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, that's a very good point, especially in the biomedical sciences program. There are so many options to choose from. Cool. So we'll finish off with our last question. So Zaira, if you don't mind unmuting your mic and asking the question, and then we will wrap up the event. Thank you.
All right, so my final question was regarding clubs and like leadership groups again. So I was just a little confused about how a lot of these clubs would be recruiting new members or like meeting in general, because I know a lot of on-campus activities like are not allowed because of COVID-19 restrictions. So yeah, thank you.
Cool. So I can toss that over to Zara, who can speak a little bit more to the online format of various clubs.
Yeah, so orientation is actually having another event on Friday at 11 a.m. That is called Science Showcase. And so that's actually going to be another online event where you can interact in different rooms. And we're going to have all of the different science clubs available. So it'll be kind of like this, where you get to interact with students who are actually in the clubs, ask them questions, find out what they do, and find out ways that you can get involved in their online environments. You are right in that events and clubs are going to be running online this term. So the way involvement looks is going to be a little bit different. But there are still a lot of really cool opportunities within like the different science departmental clubs. So within biomedical science, there are, like Dr. Pinero was mentioning, Biomedical Science Students Association is hiring for their executive team and for their other members as well. The Waterloo Undergraduate Student Association, so WUSA, also has a website and a list of all of their different clubs. There's like so many different ones. So if you're looking for something that's more science specific, there are ones as well. So we had like pre-med and like pre-optom, and those things come up as well. Those ones would fall under the WUSA category. But there are also ones for like anything else you could think of. There's like a cheese club and like there's ones that fall under like arts categories, sports categories, and all sorts of things. My best recommendation would be to contact specific clubs you're interested in to see how they're going to run exactly for an online term. Because yeah, things just do look a little bit different right now. But yeah, my recommendation would be to definitely attend the event on Friday, especially for science specific clubs. So you can talk to them, because that'll be a good opportunity to find out how that'll work. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zara. Cool. So that is it for our Q&A period. So we will move on, if you don't mind going to the next slide, and we will just finish up the event. So like Zara mentioned, we do have 2 more days of programming for orientation. So tomorrow, make sure to check out and look on Teams for the information. And then Friday, we will be having the Science Showcase event at 11 a.m. So keep an eye out on Portal for that. So just a couple, not sure if we have been having some issues with the slides, but I'll just go over a couple final things. So it's just as the advisors mentioned, and all the panelists, it's really important as entering the first year of your university career to practice self-care and make sure that you are doing stuff for yourself, and making sure that you are staying well throughout the fall term and your academic career. So taking some time for yourself. That also includes like practicing good healthy study habits and finding a balance between both like your academics and your personal activities. So with the online term, you might need to plan ahead and fit your schedule so that you can get everything done. And on top of that, with your with your instructors and your TAs, being in constant contact with them to ensure that you are getting the assistance you need should you need any clarification with the information. So in the last slide, so classes will begin. Oh, there it comes up. So yeah, so with the academic and the life tasks, it's really important to find a balance of the two. So yeah, sorry, I already mentioned this, so we can go to the last slide for what's next. So the classes do begin on Tuesday, September 8th. So in order to be prepared for that, make sure that you are checking your Learn, make sure that you're checking your emails, because that's going to be the primary form of contact for the profs to get in contact with you. And also look on your Learn and your booklet to see if you have textbooks that are required for your course. On top of that, WMIS is to be completed through Learn, and because it will be needed for your lab courses once we return back on campus. And then the last thing is checking your Waterloo email. So like Dr. Pinero and Dr. Day mentioned, it's really, really important to keep up to date with the information that the university is providing. It may seem like a lot at times, but if you're keeping on top of it, and it'll help you to keep yourself organized. So it's really good to keep on checking your email and your Learn constantly to make sure that you're getting all the information from your academic from your profs and your lab instructors and your academic world, because they will all be coming through your Waterloo email. So after all that, I would like to thank everyone for coming. I know that it was a bit of a tricky start switching over. I would like to give a huge shout out to Dr. Day and Dr. Pinero for giving such a great talk, because I think it's really important for the first years to hear what it's like in the Biomed program. We hope that the first year students, that you enjoyed the talks and were able to gain a little bit more knowledge about what school will be like in the fall term. Also, I'd like to thank all the panelists for giving great insight and lots of good information for the first year students, because I hope that you see that it's not just our academic program, it's also going to be the science community that we hold near and dear to our hearts, and we all love it. So it's a huge portion of your academic career. So we hope that you enjoyed that as well. But other than that, that is the end of Successful Scientists. So like I mentioned, just stay tuned on our on the teams to keep updated with other events going out throughout the week. So tomorrow we have our tour videos going out, and then on Friday we have our science showcase, where you will get to see some of the clubs and groups that are in the science faculty. And thank you very much, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.